Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Too Many Men podcast. My name is Alison Lucan, and I'm joined by the latest, but most certainly the very best, Bruins beat reporter-ish, Sara Civian. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, getting ready for the playoffs. Nice week in Boston here, and everything's coming up.
Amazing. You also got to meet one of my favorite people, Lindsey Brown, Women in STEM.
I did. Yeah, I already knew her, but me and her are in the same wedding. Isn't that crazy? Because she met one of my best friends from home at school in Maryland, and we're all connected somehow. So I love to meet women in hockey. She worked for the Sabres. Now she works for the Kraken.
And she's outstanding. We stand hardcore. So yay. We, of course, would not be Too Many Men without the newest, but also the best voting member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association,
Ooh.
Shayna
got your
Goldman.
ballot?
Shayna, say hi.
Hi. No, not yet, but you will have to just retract this statement if necessary later.
We'll see. Although I've actually been thinking about that whole situation quite a bit. Anyway, that's for another day. Let's get right to our content, my friends. It is time for Sara Civian's favorite segment. Sara, what time is it?
Bit-O news.
Bit-O news. My friends, we have some news to talk about. Let's start with something that Sara, as I mentioned, is covering, and you should be following her if you aren't already for the best coverage, the only coverage you need. Yesterday, the Boston Bruins set a single season record 4 wins with 63 wins, taking a victory over the Flyers. David Pastrnak, I think you said, Sara, at one point could have 200 goals, we were thinking.
Yeah. He had 10 shots, maybe 11, and like half of them, I mean, more than half are high danger. But yeah, he had a hat trick.
Look at you, women in STEM.
Yeah, we're trying to dial in. We're women in STEM.
That's for Lindsay. Lindsay always says that, women in STEM. but in all seriousness, Sara, you're from the area, so the Bruins have always been a team on your radar. Not that you're not looking at the entire league all the time, but how significant is this accomplishment, and just what a powerhouse do the Bruins continue to be? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just amazing. The significance is also just because they've dealt with a lot of injuries at the beginning of the season, a lot of now there's a lot of either sickness or people are resting. Like they got Allmark completely resting. They've got sometimes Marchand, sometimes Bergeron are out lately, and they just keep winning. And Pastrnak had a stomach flu and got a hat trick and is not sitting out. You can just tell the passion. Obviously, everybody has passion for the game, but Pastrnak kind of takes
the passion.
Oh, how did the Bruins affect the Leafs? We got it. 3 minutes, new record.
Just, it's incredible to see, and especially in this era where it seems like every team is better than it has been historically. It's like they're still breaking records, so I think that's really special. But there's so much pressure for the playoffs now too, so we'll see.
It is incredible when you look at, I mean, I don't think anyone was fully counting out the Bruins at the start of the season, but Sara mentioned the injuries, and it was significant players out, and we all wondered, myself included, what the Bruins were even going to be, and they come out and do this. Shayna, what has impressed you most about the Boston team this season?
Yeah, it's the players who started everything, right? That I think kind of stood out above the rest. We know Charlie McAvoy's elite. We knew that he would be great when he returned. The same with Brad Marchand, but it's Patrice Bergeron doing this at 37 years old. He's legitimately going to win the Selke because he's incredible. And as much as we look at him and go, well, he's the best defensive forward in the league, we also go, he's doing this when, typical aging curves say you shouldn't be as good. And even though, elite players, their average is still way above average as they decline, this level is ridiculous. And you have players like Hampus Lindholm, who has broken out, I think, and showed that how much environment can really weigh a player down. We're seeing levels from him that are similar to peak Lindholm that maybe got overlooked a little bit because he was in Anaheim. So it's those players who really picked up the pieces from the beginning and then maintained it. So when you get everybody together, you just have this super strength, and it's impressive to see with the new coaching staff, how it all looks.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy just thinking about at the beginning of this season, they didn't know if Bergeron or Krejci, and Krejci has such an impact on this team that some people don't realize. They didn't know if he was coming back either. He came back on a $1 million deal. So it's like they're making it work. They were able to get Taylor Hall, Pavel Zacha, a bunch of guys, and then guys at the deadline just because of these deals that veterans, they're like, okay, I believe on this team, let's sign a 1-year deal. And they all ended up coming back. But yeah, we didn't know what it was going to look like with Jim Montgomery. That was a confusing hire from the outside, and it's all working.
He gets a lot of credit, Jim Montgomery, what he's doing, right?
Yeah,
because it's like the players that he's worked, like Jake DeBrusk, playing at his potential, finally consistently at this level, and players like you look down the lineup, Charlie Coyle, how he's helped his game. Like, I'm really impressed by him because we didn't get a good enough chance, I think, in Dallas. Like, we knew what he could bring, and we only got to see a little bit of it. So now to see it with the Bruins, I'm intrigued. And Zacha is a good player. You mentioned that's someone that everybody lost faith in New Jersey. Like, every single person wanted him traded. Every Devils fan wanted him traded. They had enough because he had that high draft stock and never lived up to it. But if you can get him in the right place in the lineup and really just maximize his game, look at the difference. And that's, management that's smart on management. It's good on coaching, and it's good on the player too.
100%. Well, kudos to the Bruins. May they not face the same fate as the last team who achieved such heights, and that was the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went to the playoffs and promptly got swept. I only say this because I was there. So not to dig at the Bruins. Don't come for me, Bruins fans.
He was there. It was rare. She remembers it all too well. R.I.P. Taylor and Joe.
Oh, we're getting to that. Getting to that.
Before we get there. Wait. Before we get there, if Boston collapses, then it's the curse of too many men that we didn't even know started. Like, look at what happened when you were there for Columbus. If Sara's somehow there for Boston's demise, then we need to find a team for me to hop on and try to become a beat writer.
Because I was covering the team that won, not the team that collapsed.
I know, but your presence alone. A legendary team, breaking records, doing the things, and they broke in front of you because here at Too Many Men, we love underdogs.
Amazing.
Listen, we need the Leafs to go up against this super team with one of us there, and that's how they get out of the first round. We tied it back, friends.
Well, I was there for Bruins Leafs 2017. So
there we go.
No, they lost.
It all comes together. All right. In some other NHL news, we also want to offer congratulations to your Seattle Kraken, who clinched their first playoff spot in franchise history. You guys, they're at 98 standings points with 3 games to go. The fact that they could have 100 points this season is incredible and mind-blowing and awesome. I obviously am super proud and impressed by this team, but from the outside, what has stuck out to you, Shayna, about the mighty Seattle Kraken?
I'm just having fun watching them. Like, everybody was so harsh on them last year because they weren't the Golden Knights, and the Golden Knights set this bar for expansion teams that really shouldn't have been held to the Kraken. It wasn't fair. You should have looked at them against all expansion teams. And what they did this year, it just shows one, smart management to address needs, right? What did they need? They figured out, they got it. And 2, finding these reclamation projects and investing the time in them to create a lineup that is so different from everyone else in the league, with the number of unique goal scorers, with the contributions, with the way they deploy their forwards. Like, there's so much to dig into here that everyone might say, well, they don't have the star power. Like, let's see how they fare in the playoffs without that star power. I think the Devils and the Kraken are the 2 teams that give me the most questions I want to see answered to push back on things that we know to be true in the playoffs. So, like, I'm really thrilled that they're here because I just want to see how it goes. I want to learn from it. Yes, I'm a fucking nerd. Shut up.
She's listening and learning and collecting the data. She's a woman in STEM. I agree. You bring up the point about star power, and it's just like the best guys on the team are pretty young. So maybe we just don't know what we don't know about them yet, right? And I can tell you, Maddie Beniers is going to be a star, and just the goals scored. I mean,
I'm sorry, how do you say his name?
Benet from the South Shore of Massachusetts.
My God!
I think, Alison, I know there's probably so many more complex things that you've broken down so well, but like, I just think sometimes it is as simple as scoring a lot of goals in a tough league.
100%. And I would like to say, my brothers in Christ in the stats community, stop getting bent out of shape because the Kraken tweeted the money puck rankings.
Oh, like, people were funny.
It was hilarious, but like, people were
literally,
well, at the start of the season, many people And the team has talked about this, had counted them out after last year. So the Kraken, when they clinch, quote tweeted the original Money Puck percentages, which had the Kraken not as a playoff team. And Money Puck thought it was hilarious. And then like people in the stats community were all like pissed off and mad about it. I'm like, you guys, come on. Like, we're not all going to be right all the time. It's funny. Like, this is what gives us a bad rep. So please stop
take
it.
a joke. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Another little quick piece of news here that we want to touch on is that it's being reported on Monday. Shocker, friends. Mark Stone is back and practicing with the Vegas Golden Knights conveniently as their season winds up and they gear up for their playoffs. Shayna, what do you make of this?
Okay, I like, before we get into like is there a conspiracy with like long-term IR? Like, I cannot see Mark Stone ever going along with that. That man wants to play. And I think he's a team guy. And even if they're like, well, we need the cap space type thing, like, I think he wants to be out there every single game. So I am hoping all things are kosher over here because I'm so tired of those narratives like dominating like with Kucherov, because it took away from the return of an elite player and actually watching his return after hip surgery, which was hard to come back from. I love Mark Stone. He's one of my favorite players in the league because, for one, he's elite, right, on both ends of the ice. He's not a center doing it. He's a winger that he can make up for not having that elite center. And on the other hand, he is a fucking blast. The energy he brings, the vibes he brings, how hyped he gets when his teammates score, how hyped he gets when he scores goals. The goal doesn't even have to matter. And he's like having the best time out there. I feel like it's so infectious. And I think he makes the Golden Knights so much more likable. So I'm very here for it.
Also, okay, change the rules then. Like, why would people not use something well within their rules? And we don't need the conspiracies. I just think I agree totally with Mark Stone. And at that age, I'm like that age too. You're like playing for contracts for well into the future. You know, you don't want to get a reputation of being hurt. So just think with your brains. Everything is not a conspiracy.
100%. And we would like to wrap up our Bit O News with a congratulations to Quinnipiac, who beat Minnesota to win their first ever, I believe, right, NCAA championship. Kudos to them. All the stars are now signing with their NHL teams, which we will talk about more in a second. But shout out to Quinnipiac. That was fun. Did anyone have a chance to take in the game?
Yeah, I did. I was watching it, and I was talking to Rod Brindamore because his son Skylar was in it, and he said, yeah, amazing
Just
memories.
humble brag. I was talking to Rod Brindamore.
I know, no.
Friend of the pod, official friend of the pod.
He is friend of Too Many Men podcast. I just congratulated him. I wasn't deep in conversation, but he was like, yeah, family memories. It was just so cute to see their whole family there in Tampa.
In their little hats. It was very adorable.
Yeah.
Very adorable. All right, my friends, it is time, unfortunately, and I'm springing this on you. You didn't know it was there. I kept it out of the notes. It's time for our shit list. And friends, for first time ever, Shayna, you're on the shit list.
Oh my God. This is where we're going with it. Why am I on the shit list?
Well, multiple reasons. First of all,
like, I know what this is a general idea about. I was being a supportive friend, and this is the shit I get.
But okay, first of all, you were not being supportive. You did not know the news. We are talking, of course, about the reported demise of our beloved, we want friend of the pod, Taylor Swift's long-term relationship with Joe Alwyn. First of all, you didn't know. And second of all, you didn't offer your condolences to Sara. She had to ask for them. Well, Sara, speak your piece.
I apologize for that first?
Speak now, Sara. Speak now.
Yes. Shayna, you have the floor to apologize.
Honestly, I saw Alison's tweet and I immediately just opened up my text and I was like, what happened? What's wrong? Because I'm thinking like, holy shit, did her tour get canceled? I'm not looking up the news. I'm texting the news source who tweeted about it. I should have texted you both, but I saw the tweet. I responded and I was like, oh shit, is her tour canceled? Because see, I would have been upset about that because I'm loving the TikToks of people making outfits for it, just like they did for like Harry's house and things like that. Like, I'm here for those like crafty moments because I'm like, oh, cool. Everyone's like bejeweling their stuff and bedazzling it. And we love that. See, bejeweled, huh? See, huh? But I had concerns that like something was seriously wrong. I don't know.
Something is seriously wrong.
But isn't this?
And you still haven't apologized. Yes.
I'm sorry for not knowing. I'm sorry for not knowing this was a bad thing. But for me, as a innocent bystander of Taylor Swift's career, I have learned that she makes very popular music from her breakups, as many artists do. And here is a relationship with someone who isn't famous. So that's an interesting twist.
He's an actor, Shayna.
He's
I mean,
trying.
he's not as famous here. Okay. Let me go back. For fuck's sake, I don't even know who he is.
I know.
Okay. Here is someone that she was with for a very long time.
6 years.
Okay, very long time. That's more than any of the other relationships, correct? That she
Yes.
made music
Good
off
job.
of. She
Mhm.
could have like literally an album per year about this. Think of the content. She could do a full tour just about this relationship. Think about that content. That is good. And how she finds herself again after this relationship, another album. Right now, I just got you 7 new Taylor Swift albums. Original content, along with the stuff she's still re-recording.
Shayna, she's already been recording songs about him and he wrote songs with her. So he was
Right, but-
already inspiring her.
But now she's going to be inspired all over again, but individually, because she's taking her power back as her songwriter and out here ready to crush it individually, because this is what it's all about. The collaborations are nice, but we're all about Taylor. We're supporting Taylor as an individual. And if she wanted to break up, what if she wanted to break up with him? We don't know that she got broken up
We
with,
don't
right?
know. We don't
What if
know
she ended it?
anything.
What if she said, I'm a badass bitch and I don't need this anymore?
We
She
don't
could
know
have.
Maybe
anything.
because she's on her tour and running around the world, maybe he wanted to settle down and she said, no, I'm becoming a billionaire and jetting, and using my
He didn't even go to her shows.
Well,
Yeah.
because they were broken
They were
up.
broken up.
Oh, already? They were broken up
I think
before the
so.
tour started? I thought they
We don't
broke up
really
mid-tour.
know, but the thing is, like ET and people are breaking it, so you know that it's real. Because people are
Yes.
saying, "I wait till she says it." She's never commented publicly about any of her.
Just wait till the
relationships.
album
It's all
comes
this
out
out-
then,
Yeah.
friends.
Dear Joe,
Dear Joe.
she'll sing London Boy, and she'll be like, I hate a London boy. And add it to the set list.
So Shayna, we'll wait for you to make it up for us. We'll see. It's going to take a lot.
I took an interest. I am here asking the questions, taking an interest, having conversations about that. I don't see you guys doing that with me about wrestling. I don't see you being like, oh my God, did the wrestler you want win the belt? Or
Did they?
anything like that. Who's to say? I don't know. Well, yeah, someone I like has the belt. Someone I like has one of the belts.
All right,
Okay,
we'll
well,
have a
be
new
more
segment.
invested.
Yes, we'll have a new segment on the show about Shayna's wrestling.
Thank
Sarah,
you.
do you have?
I just have
it
to
just
pick an
makes me
interest I know you two dislike.
It just makes me sad because I thought they were adorable and like it just makes me sad. But you're right; it could be her choice. Sarah, do you have any closing thoughts on the end of Taylor's most recent relationship or Shayna's brash and abject dismissal of our emotional state and time?
I'm not
Well,
dismissing
You
it.
can't interrupt her. Let her talk.
Thank you. I send my best to Taylor. I think we're having single girl summer together and we're going to have a really fun summer. And I need her to like release some bops about it. I don't want
Yes.
any of the sad shit.
Yes, we have enough of that. Yes. All right, Shayna, do you want to apologize again?
I don't think I'm in the wrong. I think I actually have been proven right this entire time by Sarah. We want single girl bops. We're having a good summer. We're supporting Taylor individually because when someone breaks up, you pick a side. We've all picked it. It's Taylor's side. Now let's see what the fashion. Let's see the music. See the tour. Who's to say?
Okay. May you never be on the shit list again. How about that?
Yeah, fucking right.
Deal.
I'm gonna make a fucking the burn book. I'm gonna make a new one. It's gonna be my face plastered all over it. That says anti-shit list. I'm over this.
All right, let's move on, my friends, to our new favorite segment. And that is, how does this affect the Leafs? I think we need merch for how does this affect the Leafs, Shayna?
We're working on it. I gave my sister a logo idea and she made it and she was like, I have a better idea, and she's redesigning it. So
Okay, we need it for the playoffs, though.
I told her we're on a timer. The playoffs are starting. They're gonna get out in round 1. I need it to be relevant before then. And she did not understand what I said. And I yelled at her, and that was it. So I will call her after this podcast and continue to yell at her because she doesn't listen to this.
What?
No, Deb listens to this. Alexa is like, it's weird hearing your voice. I'm like, Alexa
Perfect.
does not read anything I write. She does not ask me about work. She does not give a shit. She'll see me and she just says nothing about it. She
We do
pretends
appreciate
like-
Alexa, though. We can't shit
We
on
do.
Alexa. She does help us quite a bit, actually.
No, we can
so-
shit on. I can shit on Alexa. She's not
Well.
going to hear this. That's not going to tell her.
Well, okay.
This will be the test.
So let's go into how does this affect the Leafs? We have two burgeoning storylines in terms of how does this affect the Leafs. And the first is, in fact, something the Leafs did. There was great uproar, and it was a 32-team game day on Saturday, which is absolutely insane. And we don't have enough time to go into why that is annoying. So I was unable to catch this real time because I was working. But I came back to the uproar and I was floored again at the just insane reaction to this. But in a game against Montreal, Toronto did two things that apparently set off the hockey world. First, they played their top power play unit late in the game, which they were winning ultimately by the score of 7-1 over the Habs. And then also because they were going through some cap machinations because they were about to sign Matthew Nyes, they had an e-bug, Jet Alexander, come in and play late in the game. And the quote that came out after the fact was from Chris Weidman, quote, "They'll get what they deserve in a few weeks." I will say I have seen coaches, namely John Tortorella, lose their shit about an opposing coach playing a top power play unit late in a game that is clearly already decided. So I have some space for that. But I cannot believe the uproar about the e-bug situation. Like, this is a nice story. Give the kids some ice time. It's fine. It's not an insult to the Habs. Habs, you're an insult to the Habs. Like, look at what you've done this year. So I couldn't believe the uproar. But Sara, did you see any of this? And what was your reaction to what the Leafs did? And then also the reaction to what the Leafs did?
Like, okay, Chris Weidman, the fact that he's like, oh, they'll get out in the first round when they aren't even in the playoffs. Like, I just think he's not one to talk. And I think obviously Matt Murray is still injured and it's not like they had their number one or whatever goalie and couldn't put him in. Like, they don't have that many options. So why not get this guy in? What's the Canadiens going to do? Come back and win the game? That was not ever on the table. And they should want to be tanking. They're tanking. I just think it's so ridiculous in this sport, how there's a culture about you can't win too hard. I mean, I get it about the power play unit, but I also think they're getting close to the playoffs and they kind of just want to like try a few new plays out or something.
Mm-hmm. Shayna, were you shocked by the reaction, or is this what we've come to expect from the hockey men?
No, this is fully what I expect. And everyone's like so salty about it. And like, I get it. It sucks to be embarrassed and lose that badly. Like, first of all, I thought Jet Alexander should have gone in sooner because like we talked about it the other day with like Samsonov's health. I think they need to be like so careful. And I would have just given him the third period anyway. But the fact that he got his moment is something that we should all appreciate. He got 1 minute of play. That doesn't affect you. That does not hurt you. It doesn't. You were a part of a big moment for someone. And if you really wanted to try scoring on him, like, do it. I'm sorry if you couldn't manage that in 60 seconds of play. Like, just shut up. The power play thing, I get it if this is a game in like February or January, right? Like, oh, I can understand it. I like what Emily Matheson's husband said, Mike. He said something like, this team's going to the playoffs and they have to figure out that power play. Like, not for nothing. They just got O'Reilly back. Like, and he was like, these guys need as many puck touches as possible on the power play. I think is what is like along the lines of what he said. He's like, so this is their chance to get it. And he's right. The clock is ticking. The pressure's on in Toronto. Everybody knows it. They're going to go up against the Lightning. Everybody knows it. They need to have all the options, be as ready as humanly possible against a penalty kill and an elite goalie. So get those guys out there, get them feeling confident. You have only so much time to do that. Sure, does it suck? It's against your team, but like you put yourself in that situation by losing so miserably. So just stop whining.
I'm also confused about, do they want them to play well and put their number one power play unit out, or do they want them to play?
They feel it's insulting. Like it's like kicking you when you're already down. They want you to play a low, like a not your top power play unit.
Isn't it embarrassing
the
other way?
The good goalie.
And they wanted the good, right. Exactly.
That makes no sense together.
I agree.
Also, like, isn't it, I would say it's insulting, like, we're beating you so bad we can put out fourth liners on the power play and still be better than you. Like, I would be insulted. I'd be like, fuck you. Give me your top guys. I want to crush them. Like, that should be your response. I don't mind them, like, talking shit about the Leafs. Like, we all know how this is going to end. Like, I don't even mind that so much. It's the context before it that I'm like, like, if you wanted to make fun of it, like, oh, they won this game in the regular season against us. That's nice. Now go do it in the playoffs. We all know how that's going to go. I'd be like, fucking right, Chris Weidman. That's some shit talking. But the way he went about it, it's like, oh, they did this to us. And now fuck you. You're going to lose in round one. Like, shut up.
It is kind of funny, but like, dude, what are you talking about?
Sarah, the
why you're
wisdom of
saying
that
it.
doesn't make sense together is incredible. I love it so much. All right. So Shayna, you mentioned it. This was our other, how does this affect the Leafs? The Tampa Bay Lightning, who we thought we had fixed by talking about, are now broken again, literally not just on the score sheet, but literally broken. As reported, and this came from multiple sources, but the cumulative report I'm reading from Chris Johnston, at Reporter Chris on Twitter, the injuries are piling up for the Tampa Bay Lightning with Anthony Cirelli, Brandon Hagel, Tanner Jeannot, Pat Maroon, and Eric Chernak all currently on the sidelines. By all reports, the Tanner Jeannot, he gets tangled up and goes down on the ice. It looked to be something not great, lower body. He already headed home and was looking at reports, and John Cooper was not optimistic about his opportunity to return. But the Tampa Bay Lightning may actually be not as strong as they usually are, particularly going into this postseason. Shayna, with those injuries, which one do you think is most significant, and does this severely hurt Tampa Bay, and does this help the chances that Toronto can actually win a series?
It helps them and it hurts them, because if they don't beat them without these players, we have bigger problems. And it's like, they don't need anything else I feel like the Leafs don't need anything going their way, because if it does and they can't pull it off, it's worse for them. I think I saw that Cirelli and Hagel were out there for morning skate one morning. So I think that they're like inching closer. Those are the two players for me to watch for, because Cirelli, we did see last postseason have really strong games against, like Austin Matthews. He's a really good shutdown center. And if they use him properly, in the right minutes and all of that, like, they can get the matchups really well. And Matthews is someone who needs to break out a little bit more in the playoffs. He's the one that the pressure is going to be on. Like, we've seen Marner do it, even though everyone wants to shit on his game. We've seen Nylander do it, even though everyone wants to shit on his game. But Matthews is the one I think that really needs to take it up a notch. And he has been at the end of the regular season. So if you don't have Cirelli going up against him, that's huge. But like, Hagel for me is the player all season who's been just outstanding in Tampa with Kucherov and Point. So I'm like, those are the two that I would say are going to hurt them the most, because Hagel can play well on both ends of the ice too. So I mean, either way though, like, if the Leafs somehow didn't have them in the lineup, like the Leafs didn't have to go up against them, like, I can't imagine them losing games and what the reaction would be. I can't wait for it.
Sarah, are you you're already high on the Leafs. You've already been there and put out your prediction. Does this only increase your confidence in their abilities?
It's not really moving the needle that much for me. I agree with Shayna that Cirelli and Hagel are the two to watch out for, but it's not like every team sustains pretty serious injuries, at least like throughout the first few rounds. So this is already happening now. I just don't think I was looking at the Lightning roster the other day, and sometimes we forget, since they've been around forever, how stacked it is. I mean, you got Kucherov, you got Point, and the Lightning have done things without significant players before. The only thing that matters to me is if Vasilevsky's hurt or not, and he's not. So the Leafs are going to have to face Vasilevsky regardless, and that's really like the biggest issue, because the Leafs' problem is their scoring drying up.
Right. Solid call. All right, let's move in to the rest of the hockey universe, because we've addressed the most important team first. So now we can talk about the rest of them. Continuing with some injuries, and we had kind of stopped highlighting all the injuries because it's more Bido news, but these are injuries like we just talked about with Tampa Bay that could significantly impact the postseason when every game is so huge. And Minnesota, another team already locked into their spot in the playoffs, loses Joel Eriksson and Oscar Sundqvist when they were playing against Pittsburgh. Obviously, Eriksson is the bigger concern for this team. They are getting some reinforcements. They've obviously got Kaprizov coming back. They've got Gus Nyquist has joined the lineup. Sara, are you concerned about the blow to the Wild heading into the playoffs when they don't have a big window of time here to keep trying to go into the postseason with these two losses?
I really don't know what to expect from the Wild. I do think they have been really, really consistent at the end of this season. And I feel like there's no reason to doubt them that severely right now, just because they keep proving me wrong. So I do think, and people forget that they have qualified for the playoffs. Like, what is it? 8 of the last 9 years, 7 of the last 8 years or something. But this year feels a little different for them. And it's again with the injuries. Like, I don't know. I do think good teams rise above whatever injury, and they know that this is a deep team where it's like, I don't think there's that much star power, but they have everything throughout the lineup that they need. So I do think that helps them here.
Shayna, what do you make of the Wild right now?
Yeah, like this is tough. Like we saw the Kaprizov injury open the door to Matt Boldy really stepping it up and being like, I can be the star of this team. The offense can run through me. And then when you have Kaprizov come back, you're like, great, this is the 1-2 punch this team's been missing. Look at the offense they have spread out between their top 6, but their center depth has always been thin. Like, not for nothing, Ryan Hartman's not a first line center player, and that's who they have playing the first line. You know, Sam Steele was playing there before, so now he's in place of Eriksson Ek, I think, on that second line for the moment. But it just, they address something and it doesn't even matter. You know, they brought in Sundqvist just to have a little bit more versatility, and it doesn't even matter. Like, Eriksson Ek, to me, is one of their most important players. He is really good offensively, you know, and he's been showing that with the finishing talent that he was missing up until the last 2 years. His defensive impact is one of the best among all centers, and he's someone that is just so hard to play against, infuriates opponents, forces them to take penalties. So to lose that is so tough. And that line with Boldy and him has been unbelievable. So I really wonder how much they're going to be able to maintain it. Like, I think Boldy is a star in himself, but I think it's so different when you have someone like Eriksson Ek because he's so responsible defensively. The bright side is too, like, they're getting the reinforcements. Brock Faber's playing tonight, I believe. And that's, you know, an exciting moment. The big one here is Rossi. Like, do the coaches finally let him legitimately play? Because I think he's kind of the wild card. If he gets true minutes and isn't just buried on the fourth line and maybe gets to play with Boldy a bit, could they find that like chemistry that everybody's been waiting for them to get a chance to prove that they have? That for me is the game changer, because like Minnesota, I don't think is going to have an easy round one at all, because if they end up as first place, I don't like, they're not going to get the Jets. They're going to get someone like the Kraken. If not, you're getting Dallas or Colorado. They have so much stacked up against them that they need whatever help they can get. So they needed that someone can truly step up as a legit 2C, and that the depth on the third and fourth line doesn't suffer. Like, it's just all messy right now. And it's crazy the impact one player can have on the lineup. And it just feels like that's happening because they're so stretched thin down the middle.
Going to be interesting to watch for sure. Let's talk about another team that has clinched. And it was funny. I was watching some hockey this past weekend, and I said to Steven, I said, does Carolina even want to win games? Because they may be returning to something that they didn't love about themselves last season. And that is, do they potentially have a road game problem? They've lost their last 2 games on the road, at Nashville and at Buffalo, 2 teams that you would think on paper they should be able to beat, in fact, getting shut out by Buffalo. And of their last 2 road games, where they were at Montreal and at Detroit, they lost to Detroit. Sara, you were covering the Hurricanes last year when it seemed like they just couldn't get it done, particularly in the postseason on the road. It literally became a thing. Are we seeing shades of this again, or is this just an up and down finish to a team that's already got a playoff spot?
I would say the latter, most likely, just because it's like, it really at this stage just get to the playoffs, especially with a team that isn't fighting for like a league record, but also has made the playoffs every year for the past 5 years. But it's what happens when you get a little cocky, don't do anything at the deadline, and then your star player, Andrei Svechnikov, goes down, right? That's just going to be the question mark for the entire playoffs. And they also said something interesting where they weren't playing any goalie like back to back or at all. And like, I forget exactly what Waddell did, but he was like, okay, there's not going to be any goalie that's ever playing a back to back game for like the last month and a half. So I do think they're managing that in an interesting way, like a load management situation before the playoffs. So they clearly didn't care that much once they got into the playoffs, which I think is actually smart, honestly. But I just worry about the scoring power and general power of the team without Svech.
Shayna, in addition to Sara's points, are there things that you worry about with Carolina? Do you think this is coming back? It was the Rangers that kicked them out last season when they just couldn't get it done at the Garden. What do you make of the current Kane situation?
Yeah, like, I get the load management, and I get that you don't have to like go out there every night and like like, look at the injury risk, right? You know, we saw Tampa Bay play the Rangers the other night, and we just see players dropping and getting injured and playing in a way that you're like, you don't need to do this right now. And I get that, but for one, like with the goaltending, like you should be preparing your goalies to play back-to-back games because you don't do it often in the regular season. In the postseason, you're doing it unless you are really bad in that first half and the team needs a new vibe. But it's just like the caliber play the last month is honestly concerning. They don't look like themselves, and that's not what you want going into the playoffs, especially because they can slide down the standings. I think that they're in much better shape if they finish out first. I think the Canes have matched up really well against the Islanders for years. And like, yes, the playoffs are a different animal and things like that. But like, we know that to be true. There's the whole, they don't have a lot of finishing talent. You're going against Sorokin. That's a challenge. But like that, I think that's a true thing about them. Or if they get lucky and could fall, to the Panthers, like that might benefit them too. Sliding to the second slot, I don't think is ideal for them because they don't match up well to the Rangers in the regular season or the playoffs. It's a team that, yes, the Canes know very well, but the Rangers know them very well too. And I don't think that benefits them that much. So I feel like these games are really important to them. And, like if the Devils can rise enough in the last two games and the Canes can fall, like it can hurt them. So they have to find a way to get hot at the right time again, because the slide right now is a little bit concerning unless they can figure out a way to get it to that full stop and then somehow turn things completely around. You want this slide to happen a month ago, and then you adjust and figure it out that you're going into the playoffs with a little bit of momentum, I think.
100%. All right, let's stay in the East. And well, again, if you are fans of your team and you're not happy with how they're performing, just have us talk about them because we seem to be the ones to change the direction of things. It was a couple episodes ago that we all three decided that Florida was officially done and not making it into the postseason. And my friends, they actually have a scenario where they can clinch tonight being Monday. And I'm reporting from dear friend of the pod, Micah Blake McCurdy at Ineffective Math on Twitter. If both the Islanders and the Panthers take as many points from their games today as the Sabres take from theirs, Buffalo will be eliminated from playoff contention. If Buffalo takes more points than either Florida or New York Islanders, then the Sabres will survive the day. However, there is a scenario where Florida can clinch. We may end up being proven wrong if we look at the three teams still vying for the final playoff spot in the East. Pittsburgh has Chicago and the Blue Jackets to round out their regular season. The Islanders have Washington and Montreal. Florida has Toronto and Carolina, arguably the most difficult remaining schedule of the three. Sara, do we need to change our prediction? Can Florida do it?
I think so. I think the way the Tide has been trending too, and just kind of like that one team that has that magic at the end of the season, I do think I'm right once again about the Islanders getting in, and everybody tried to tell me no, but I think it's going to be Islanders Panthers. Just they have the vibes right now. And sometimes that's what you need to explain. And once again, it's not that I don't wish Connor McDavid existed. I wish there was a separate trophy for him because Tkachuk, I really want him to get the Hart Trophy.
Amazing. I like this. I do think there needs to be a separate award for Connor.
Yeah.
It's
like, we get it. You're good.
Yeah. Exactly. And to be clear, I want to read this too. The actual clinching scenario for the Panthers is if they defeat Toronto in regulation or overtime and the Islanders lose to the Capitals in regulation. Shayna, how wrong were we about Florida? Will they do it?
I feel like they're going to do it because I think if they had the easier schedule, I would actually be picking against them. For some reason, the winnable games for them are the ones that they're messing up on. And then when they need these big games, they really come out to play. But we have to give credit. I think it's three core players, right? And not core, key players doing this. We have Carter Verhaeghe, who whenever the stakes are high, he just comes up. I think that he deserves all the appreciation in the world. We know he's a good playoff performer too. You have Matthew Tkachuk, like you said. That is MVP caliber. That go-ahead goal in the last 2 minutes of play Saturday night was so important. The way the team reacted, it was amazing. And Alex Lyon has saved, I think it's 9 goals above expected through 13 games. Against the Sabres, he had a huge game. He saved 4.7. And against the Senators, the next game, he saved almost 5 goals above expected in a single game. He's somehow managing the chaos so well. He's making the goalie conversation so interesting. And it's he's someone that has something to prove, and he legitimately is proving it right now. So it's I do want to see this team make it because I want to see where it goes. But I just feel like they're getting hot at the right time. And even I don't like management there. I don't like coaching there, but the players are finding ways to kind of get past where they're weak defensively. Here's a goalie who's somehow stopping it. You know, they're strong offensively. Like here's the top performers making the difference. So I don't know. Like, I think they're going to do it. I think it's going to be them and the Islanders, because Pittsburgh, there's just too many holes.
Well, we will see.
So Pittsburgh's going to come back now and make it. And you're welcome, Pittsburgh. We'll take our fucking checks in the mail.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. We've been wrong before, but we may not be wrong often. We'll see.
We're not really wrong ever.
Okay. We'll go with that one. I like it better. One other team that we seem to be fixing and then not fixing. And now here we are again, Tampa Bay, after they did right the ship with 3 wins at Carolina, hosting the Capitals and hosting the Islanders, is now 3 losses straight on their record against the Rangers, the Islanders, and Ottawa. John Cooper with a quote, "We're playing like the season ended when we clinched a playoff spot, like there was no season left." We've talked about this already this episode, but I am in fact a big fan of ending the season strong and being on your game so that that's right where you pick off and not having to try and rediscover it. We've talked about the injuries that Tampa Bay has. Shayna, are the Lightning going to be able to flip a switch come game 83?
If anybody knows how to do it, it's Tampa Bay, right? Like, the vibes are there. The thing with them is too, like, even when they're not having this perfect regular season, I think like Vasilevsky's a prime example of it last year. When push comes to shove, and it wasn't in game 1 or 2, it was game 6 and 7, he stood tall and was the elite goaltender we know him to be in the most clutch moments. So they have that mentality, that do or die mentality. So there's a good chance they can turn things around. But I think we've heard it before with the Lightning, right? They've said it in past seasons. They need to know, like the year they got eliminated to Columbus, is like, you can't rest on what you did in the regular season. You need to pick it up at the right time. And I think they learned from that. And the next 2 years, it's true. You can't come in with this Stanley Cup hangover. You need these games in October matter, because you can't make the playoffs now, but you can lose them. So it just keeps going back to that in my mind. Like, they know what to do when it matters, but we're going to see how the team has, had to manage some subtractions because they've stayed contending. Like, losing Ryan McDonough obviously hurt them. So it's things like that. We'll have to see how much subtraction is too much, and if they can kind of keep going through that, because they spent a ton at the deadline on one player who we all thought would come out with like Tanner Jeannot, bad trade. But guess what? He's going to score that huge goal in game 6 and everyone's going to forget it was bad. Like, you don't have that now.
Yep. They have 2 games left, Sarah. They host Toronto and Detroit. Will Tampa Bay win those games or look like their former selves going into the postseason?
I think the vibes are going to be weird if they don't, right? And it doesn't, you have an emphasis on these last few games. I don't really, but when it comes to John Cooper's statements lately and kind of things that they've done that haven't worked, I think it's important to finish off strong.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are going to keep our eyes on the playoff hunt. 2 spots remain, 1 in the West, 1 in the East. We'll see if there's any more clarity by the time we come back to you later this week with our next episode. And once everything's set, we'll start to break down what we think is going to happen in the postseason. But for now, we end this show like we do every episode, and that's with our very favorite game. And that game is Fuck, Marry, Kill. All right, friends, here we go. As we've been doing, we're going to fuck, marry, kill some potential round 1 matchups, this time in the East. And Sarah, I'm going to have you go first. Are you ready for your options?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Boston, Pittsburgh, Boston Islanders, or Boston Panthers. Go.
I'm going to marry Boston Islanders. I think that would be the most fun with Sorokin. I think that he could really give the Bruins a surprisingly hard time. I think the Bruins would still win, but I'm going to fuck Bruins Panthers because I also think that would be exciting. I'd like to see Tkachuk, Marchand. Imagine the vibes. That would be fun. And I am going to kill Matthew Tkachuk and Jason Tatum from the Celtics are friends. They went to prep school in St. Louis together. So I think that'd be really cute. I don't know. And I'm going to kill Penguins Bruins because I know I've been shitting on the Penguins a lot, but it's like they're really boring me lately and it would be boring.
Shayna, your turn. You're up.
Okay. Also killing Penguins Bruins. First of all, this is shallow, but I don't want another matchup that it's like the same team colors. It drives me up a wall. Like Tampa Toronto last year made me crazy. Like, I don't want that. Also, I don't think it would be that exciting of a matchup because I think the Bruins would completely dismantle the Penguins. So there's that. And I want to be entertained, and it's about me. I am going to fuck Islanders Bruins. I think that would be a banger series because I think that that's two teams that can play your prototypical playoff style hockey, and we're getting Ullmark against Sorokin. There's a lot of intrigue because Sorokin is undoubtedly a goalie who can steal a series, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for his season this year. Because he's not as high in the win column, even though like he's the reason the Islanders are here. But I like the idea of the Islanders going through the Metro a little bit more because I think every potential matchup, Hurricanes, Devils, Rangers, is so intriguing, and that is what I want to see. I will marry Panthers, Bruins because there's something about the Panthers, the team that nobody trusts, rightfully so, because of their defense and some goaltending concerns. We all have doubts in them. They have spoiler material written all over them to me. And I think that the regular season games that we've seen from Boston and Florida have been so exciting. They can be these high scoring affairs and be like, you know, must see TV. So I kind of like that. Like, and like you said, Marchand against Tkachuk would be unbelievable. It feels like both sides have these two play, and then you have Bergeron against Barkov. Like that, those are the matchups I want to see. Like right there, give it to me. I'm watching hopefully more than like 5 games of that series.
We can finally stop saying Barkov's underrated, but till the day he retires, we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, right. And it's Bergeron's fault because he's not going to win any awards with Bergeron there. So every defensive center has to be underrated because of Bergeron. It's all his fault. So that's you know, that's where I'm going. Let's marry that series.
Guess what, Shayna?
You're going to agree with me.
I agree with you.
Well,
yes.
We're friends again.
Yes. Just for a little bit, Yes. No, I agree. I think I love the matchups point, and I had forgotten how abjectly awful the Toronto Tampa Bay series was from a viewing perspective. So yes, I'm hard agree on no same color teams on the ice at the same time. That would suck. All right, my friends, that does it for this episode. It is an exciting time. It's a fun time. We will be back with you for our second episode of the week later. Again, like I said, we'll be breaking down the playoff picture as we see fit, touching on anyone who makes our shit list, and always bringing you BitO News. And if you love BitO News, you can get a BitO News t-shirt. We have merch. Check us out online. We are on Twitter and Instagram at @2_much_man. You can interact with us there. You can find the links to buy notebooks, switch cases, watch bands, sweatshirts, hats, all kinds of good stuff. Again, we use all the proceeds from that to turn around and give it back to causes and people who are doing really cool things, making hockey inclusive and exciting for everyone who wants to be a part of it. And that is how we end every episode as well, is that we ask you to do something, no matter how big or small, to make sure hockey truly is for everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Bye.